Welcome back to more UCL Fantasy content. This will be the best Limitless team for Matchday 6, and the biggest challenge we'll face in the upcoming game weeks is rotation. With those teams near the top of the Champions League table, they could secure a place in the knockout stages very soon, and that could mean a lot of rotation, and that could be problematic in UCL Fantasy. On screen you can see the UCL Fantasy League code, and there's an auto-join link in the description below. I'd highly encourage you to check it out and join the league. The same goes for my Discord server, and consider becoming a patron or a channel member to gain early access to my videos, amongst many other perks. And also check out my Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM. Smash the like button of this video and subscribe if you're new. Let's try to get this to the 200 likes and to keep on pushing towards new goals like 31,000 subscribers. But let's get straight into this, building the best 15-man squad on the Limitless. Liverpool are a prime example of a team you may want to invest in very heavily, but at the same time, they could rotate quite a lot over the next couple of match days, and that will be a huge issue. For Matchday 6 though, I still think they'll go relatively strong, and Kelleher will start against Everton in the Merseyside derby. This video is recorded on Friday night, and a lot could happen over the weekend, but Alisson is getting closer and closer to a return, and if we get an update before the deadline that suggests Alisson will start, then definitely go for him instead of Kelleher for the Tuesday goalkeeper. But on the Wednesday, you might have more choices here, at least for Matchday 6, and my preference would be Oblak. On the wildcard, it might be slightly different though, because Atletico Madrid do play Bayer Leverkusen in Matchday 7, and AC Milan do have better fixtures. I'll discuss this in the best wildcard team video, but for Matchday 6, I would back Atletico Madrid slightly more, and they've got 8 consecutive victories across all competitions. The likes of Alvarez are in great form, and I'm not a big fan of their defender assets, so Oblak might be the best way of covering their defence for Matchday 6, and he's still a great choice in goal for the wildcard chip. If you plan to deploy a Matchday 6, he'd be right up there, especially amongst the Wednesday goalkeepers. This is going to be a very solid goalkeeper pairing. Remember, if Alisson is available for Matchday 6, go for him instead of Kelleher. And there are other alternatives from both days. You've got the likes of David Raya, who's got good fixtures to round off the league phase campaign for Arsenal, and they're also in great form with 4 consecutive victories across all competitions. Paris Saint-Germain are unbeaten in Ligue 1 at the time of this recording. They do play on Friday night, so we'll see how they get on. But Hakimi scored in a recent league game, and he's always got that threat in terms of goals and assists, and he's a very fun asset in UCL Fantasy. Back in Matchday 3 when I deployed the chip, he was in my plans for the entire week, but I ended up going away from him, and there was a massive regret because despite PSV scoring and PSG dropping points, Hakimi scored PSG's only goal of the game and managed to deliver 14 points. So that's what he's capable of. It is an away fixture though, and PSG are in a very difficult situation in the Champions League. Their fixtures have been extremely tough. They narrowly lost against Bayern Munich in Matchday 5, and for me, Hakimi is by far the best PSG asset, and Barcola has been a massive disappointment. That is a shame because he's been doing great in the league, but not so much in Europe's most prestigious competition. But Hakimi is still delivering quite well despite the tough fixtures, and if you want a one Matchday punt in the defence, I think Hakimi would be right up there. But let's now go to more long-term options who will also do a great job in Matchday 6, at least on paper. Theo Hernandez is one of them, but AC Milan can't be trusted defensively, and that's why this Maignan and Hernandez partnership could still be quite good because of the fixtures, but AC Milan are very unreliable, and they might win these games, but also concede quite a lot of goals in the process. But just like Hakimi, Theo Hernandez has a bit of something about him in terms of the attacking threat with goals and mainly assists in his case. I don't think he'll score as many as Hakimi, but both of them are capable of getting a goal at any given time, especially for a defender, and they're very exciting to own in UCL Fantasy. Now, the next pick might be very rogue in terms of the rotation risk is massive, but if we get the kind of inkling he starts, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold would be a fantastic option in Matchday 6, and maybe he'll start this game and be rotated in future match days. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend Trent in a wildcard team, but on the Limitless, I'd still be more inclined to go for 1 or 2 Liverpool defensive coverage. I think they can go to Spain and keep a clean sheet against Girona, and they've got one of the best defences in Europe so far this season, although there have been a few dodgy performances in terms of leaking goals to Southampton and Newcastle in the last 2 away games, and they did keep clean sheets against Man City and Real Madrid in the same week, but those matches were at Anfield, and I do think away from home, Liverpool can be vulnerable from time to time. You might want to go for Virgil van Dijk for a safer option who can also get ball recoveries, and Trent is just recovering from an injury and his minutes are being managed in the Premier League. He came on as a substitute against Newcastle and provided 2 assists for Mohamed Salah. So he isn't the safest pick, and that's why you may want to go for Virgil van Dijk instead, who has scored more points so far this season, and I do think he can do a great job in Matchday 6 as well. But let's now go to another option who's normally very nailed on, but there is a possible issue here as Gabriel is yellow flagged. He was subbed off against Sporting and West Ham due to an injury. It's a reoccurrence of the same problem. We saw something similar against Liverpool back in Game Week 9 of FPL, and he missed the Man United game in midweek, a 2-0 victory for the Gunners, and let's see if he plays against Fulham on Sunday. I'm very optimistic he will play, but it isn't set in stone, and you may want to go for Jurrien Timber, who's a very cheap option, and you might want to invest in him in your non-Limitless team as well, because he offers tremendous value for money. There's also Saliba and Calafiori when he's available, but he's another injury doubt going into this week, and maybe Kivior could be a decent punt there in the Arsenal defence, but ideally it would be Gabriel. Saliba would be second in a Limitless team, and I think Jurrien Timber might offer the best value overall. So on the wild card or your team selections, I think you might want to go for Jurrien Timber at this moment in time. But let's now wrap things up in this position, because I'm sure a lot of you will be very interested to see the midfield, but the defence is very important, and this might not be the most attractive pick on paper, but Kim Min-jae has been incredible in the last 2 UCL Fantasy match days. A hero of mine personally. He's getting some big returns through ball recoveries, and he scored the only goal in that 1-0 win against PSG back in match day 5, and I think he's got a lot to offer in UCL Fantasy. He showed it last season, mainly in the group stages and not so much in the knockouts. He actually had some very poor performances against the likes of Real Madrid there, but this season he's been very solid alongside Upamecano, and Bayern Munich have been in great form overall despite their recent loss to Bayer Leverkusen in the Cup and during 1-1 to Borussia Dortmund with an injury to Harry Kane, which could be very detrimental to the Champions League hopes, but he has been spotted in training, and I'll talk about him later on in the forward section. Rafinha was very disappointing in matchday 5, but you can forgive him because he has been extraordinary in the Champions League this season and across all competitions. His goals and assist record is simply remarkable, dating back to March last season, and even back in the summer, I was talking about Rafinha when he had 5% ownership and he was being heavily overlooked at the time, but now he's becoming a template pick. Despite Barcelona having some tough fixtures on the horizon, it's Borussia Dortmund this week away from home, then you've got Atalanta and Benfica. That isn't really too easy in my opinion, and Barcelona could drop some points there, but Rafinha is still worthwhile, and Lewandowski up front is another great option. Yamal is also decent, but not on the same level as the other two, and defensively, Jules Koundé remains the best option. If you still back them to keep a clean sheet and get ball recoveries in the case of Koundé, then he's still worth a decent punt on the Limitless, wildcard, and perhaps your normal transfers, but I'd rather invest in one of their attackers, and it's between Rafinha or Lewandowski, in my opinion. Next up, though, it's a combination of form, fixtures, and also just a really good differential, and that's going to be Christian Pulisic, who surprisingly still has 6% ownership, but he has been churning the goals and assists for AC Milan this season. I'm very impressed by him, and hopefully he can stay injury-free, because at this price point, I don't see many better for the last 3 match days of the league phase, and you've also got a lot to play for in terms of AC Milan. They've gotten some big wins against the likes of Real Madrid, but they've also struggled at the beginning of this campaign, losing to Bayer Leverkusen and Liverpool, so there's still a lot to play for there, and that's why 2 or 3 AC Milan players could be worthwhile, but if I'm ranking their assets, Pulisic will be first, then it's between Theo Hernandez or Maignan for that second and third spots respectively. I think that's a very close call, but I think Pulisic is by far the best choice, especially in the attacking areas. Speaking of which, there is a certain talisman who is completely carrying Liverpool at this moment in time, and that's Mohamed Salah. I believe, until Game Week 14 anyway, Salah's been involved in 81% of Liverpool's goals in the Premier League, but only 1 goal in this competition, which is very surprising. He is getting the assist though, and playing more of a creative role in this competition, and he is definitely in the running for the Ballon d'Or right now. If he continues this form, it's hard to see anybody stopping him, although Rafinha and Lewandowski might have something to say about that. I really like this midfield complexion, and we're still going to go for very expensive midfielders here and captaincy options on the Tuesday and Wednesday, and one of them would be Bukayo Saka facing Monaco at home, who shipped in 5 against Benfica. despite their very strong start, beating Barcelona and being near the top of the table, it has kind of slowly gone downhill for the French outfit, but they're still a decent side and could frustrate Arsenal. They've done it in the past, back in 2016, but Saka is in great form overall with double-digit hauls against Nottingham Forest and West Ham. He's going to be a captaincy option in UCL Fantasy and FPL with good reason. His consistency is remarkable, particularly in home matches, and he did this in the Champions League last season, where in fact I think he got the most double-digit hauls in home matches of any player across any single team. So I do like Saka. He's by far the best Arsenal attacking asset. Havertz is another decent option, and Odegaard is a magician on the ball, but you want to go for Saka on the Limitless chip and even with your wildcard teams. But let's now complete this midfield with Jamal Musiala, who faces Shakhtar Donetsk away, and he scored the equaliser against Borussia Dortmund very recently, but you might want to cover Bayern Munich offensively with Harry Kane alone if he's fit, but that isn't set in stone right now. And another punt in the midfield would be Kevin De Bruyne, who did very well against Nottingham Forest with a goal and an assist. He's got such a high ceiling, and I bought him last season for a one matchday punt essentially in matchday 7, and he was terrific. I think it was against Club Brugge away from home at the time, and I think De Bruyne is just capable of those massive returns, and he's a mega differential right now, but it is a difficult fixture, and City are still not out of the woods yet. Only one victory out of the last 8 matches across all competitions, but it was back to the City we know and recognise against Nottingham Forest in Game Week 14 of FPL. There are also so many different options in the midfield, defensive line. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think, but I do like this kind of balance. You've got Rafinha, Pulisic, Salah, Saka and Musiala, who are all in great form, and they've got that high ceiling. They can deliver goals and assists combined in the same match, and some of them have been underperforming in the Champions League, mainly Salah in front of goal, who missed that penalty against Real Madrid. But with the form he's showing in the Premier League, I think it's only a matter of time before he scores more goals in this competition. This will be a different looking forward line to what you're used to, but Gyökeres has featured in many of these Limitless videos and even the wildcard teams with good reason, but Sporting have lost 3 consecutive games ever since that 5-1 battering against Arsenal, so it's not looking too good for them now with no Ruben Amorim, who got the very best out of that Sporting side. It might take a while for them to get back on track, but I'm still backing Gyökeres to score goals, and in fact in their recent defeat he did win the penalty and convert it, but there will be another game by the time this video is published, so just bear that in mind. I still like Gyökeres a lot, especially if you're in the market for a mid-price forward. I still prefer him over Guirassy and Jonathan David, who scored a brace and got an assist in a 3-1 win for Lille over Brest, 2 Champions League sides going at it on Friday night, so that's another one you may want to go for. But Gyökeres is a great option, and I would go for him instead of Jonathan David right now. You may want to go for both, but one option who has been in terrific form right now is Julian Alvarez. Man City might regret selling him, to be fair, and Atletico Madrid are battering teams left, right and centre. In the last 2 matches, a 5-0 win and a 6-0 victory. Absolutely amazing stuff. Let's see what they can do this weekend, and Alvarez is my favourite Atletico Madrid attacker right now, but Griezmann might have something to say about that, and they do rotate sometimes with the likes of Sorloth, who can score goals too, but Alvarez would be my preference, and I'm not too interested in their midfielders right now. Maybe Jimenez in the defensive line could be another decent option, but Oblak in goal should be more than enough. I wouldn't mind a defensive double-up for Atletico Madrid in matchday 6 though. But let's complete this team and forward line with the injury doubt and one of the best forwards in the world. Harry Kane is currently doubtful to play against Shakhtar Donetsk, but he was spotted in training. It was individual training. He was doing some running on the Wednesday, and I think the hope will be to have him fit and available against Shakhtar. But if he isn't, and if he's still a doubt to start that game, maybe he'll be on the bench, or it's going to be a late fitness test, you may want to go in a different direction. And I still like Robert Lewandowski, despite facing his former club Borussia Dortmund, which won't be easy. Vinicius Jr. is now back in training, and he's eyeing a return against Atalanta, who have been phenomenal this season, but I still think Real Madrid can score some goals in that game, and back in August, they beat them 2-0 in the UEFA Super Cup final. The other strikers I consider include Griezmann, but if you've got Alvarez already, you may want to go for a bit of a different option here to diversify your offensive line. Jonathan David could be a great shout up front. I bought him in matchday 5. It didn't work particularly well. I think he had a decent performance, created a few big chances, but didn't really have any of his own, and that's what I'm hoping for in Matchday 6 and to build upon that form he showed on Friday night with that brace and assist against Brest. So I'm hoping for the very best from Jonathan David there. And Angel Di Maria played extremely well in that 5-2 win against Monaco. That's another great differential shout against Bologna. So I'd consider all of these options, and there are many more like Kai Havertz against Monaco that could also enter the equation. But the final forward I'm going to go for is going to be a very interesting one. I think if Harry Kane is fit and available, he is the top option. You can't discount Erling Haaland either. And I think De Ketelaere could also be a decent choice. He scored against AC Milan on Friday night. But Harry Kane for me is the one if he's fit. And the backup option would be between Vinicius Jr. or Jonathan David. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below as always. Let's fix the captaincy though on the Tuesday and the Wednesday. And first off, on the 10th of December, it is quite a difficult one. But if Kane is fit, he will be my top shout, with Salah being just behind him. But honestly, that could go either way. Even Gyökeres would enter that conversation. That's my top three for the Tuesday. And on the Wednesday, I'm a bit more confident about my pick. Bukayo Saka against Monaco at home would be my second option. But you've also got Christian Pulisic, Rafinha, and maybe Alvarez as a mega differential captain. He might even be second in my list in terms of favourite captaincy options on the Wednesday. But Saka would take top spot in my opinion. And defenders can be captain in this game, even in FPL of course. But in UCL Fantasy with the ball recoveries, I think they become viable options for the armband. Not the goalkeepers though. I wouldn't go that far. Now, as I was recording this video, Christian Pulisic has been subbed off due to injury against Atalanta, so that could be a massive blow for AC Milan and also our UCL Fantasy prospects and this Limitless team. So if he does miss out, and we'll get the updates over the weekend and perhaps on the Monday and Tuesday press conferences, I'd be looking to offload Christian Pulisic and maybe go for this sort of differential like Kevin De Bruyne, who I mentioned earlier. Florian Wirtz remains a great choice, but he does face Inter Milan, who are very solid defensively. They haven't conceded a single goal in the Champions League so far this season. That will come to an end eventually, but they are so solid at the back. And one differential who could be a great replacement is Tillman, who faces Brest. They just lost 3-1 to Lille. So I think Tillman, with back-to-back double-digit hauls in UCL Fantasy, that could be a massive differential with 2% ownership. Phil Foden might come back into the equation against Juventus away, but I prefer Kevin De Bruyne at this moment in time, and there are so many more where that came from. Thank you very much for watching this video and listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. I promise to get this video to over 200 likes and to keep on pushing towards 31,000 subscribers and beyond. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for my Patreon and the championships for early access to my videos, amongst many other perks, the Discord server, UCL Fantasy League, Draft Hound, as well as Spotify. Leave a 5-star review on my podcast. It goes a long way to support my channel. I wish you all the best of luck for Matchday 6 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.